Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips, and I have a lot of announcements. One is where this week some classes start that are still a part of winter semester at the Wellness Forum Institute. Those are dietary supplements, women's health and business training for health professionals. Advanced study this month is really interesting. It involves a very interesting book called Powered by Plants, Natural Selection and Human Nutrition. And it involves taking a look at the argument for paleo diets, not from a health standpoint, but the practicality standpoint. Was there a paleo diet? What is it? Do people really eat it? You know, all that kind of stuff. Summer schedule is ready for the Institute, which includes the amazing diet and lifestyle program that is taught by the celebrity lineup, John McDougall and Ralph Moss and Neil Barnard and Cobble Esselstyn et al., the whole bunch. And the Informed Medical Consumer Series starts soon, and we have a special going on. You can get like $1,400 worth of tuition vouchers by participating in one of these programs. So anyway, you probably do want to call and find out a little bit more about it. And also I'm going to post a video on our website at wellnessforum.com that talks a little bit about what we call April Madness, special offers from the Wellness Forum. You heard of March Madness? I think that's basketball, although I'm not a sports fan. April Madness is educational opportunities at great prices at the Wellness Forum, at Wellness Forum Health. Okay, so my topic for today is that big agriculture won big time with the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. I'm sure you guys have heard about this. I know because I get a bunch of emails about it. The committee has a long history of issuing guidelines that favor the interests of farmers and don't really promote public health, but they have now sunk to a new low, in my opinion, retracting recommendations that formerly advised people to restrict or limit dietary cholesterol. The committee cited research showing that dietary cholesterol doesn't have a significant effect on blood cholesterol, but the bottom line is in today's market, the medical journals are so clogged up with garbage that you can find a study and sometimes lots of studies to support just about any point that you want to make. The preponderance of the evidence doesn't show that there's no connection between dietary cholesterol and blood cholesterol levels, and research shows that when you lower the intake of animal foods, that's where the cholesterol comes from, you get lower blood cholesterol levels and better health outcomes too. Now, what I was going to do was write my own response. I was going to take the whole thing apart and tell you what I thought. And instead, Dr. Dean Ornish authored what I think is a pretty well-referenced op-ed piece that appeared in the New York Times. And so I decided not to create my own thing and to tell you some of Ornish's ideas, because I think this was a good article. And then I'll finish with some commentary. So Ornish starts by addressing the claim that eating less meat and fat has not improved health. It is a myth that people are eating better. The reality is they're not. Just by way of example, Americans ate 67% more added fat, 39% more sugar, and 41% more meat in the year 2000 than they did in 1950. Our diets haven't improved, they've gotten worse, our cholesterol levels are worse, and our health status is worse instead of better. Ornish also points out that the issue is much broader than just the cholesterol content of animal food or the debate about low-fat or high-carbohydrate diets and that sort of thing. He says high animal protein intake can increase the risk of all-cause mortality, cardiovascular disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, and high intake of saturated fat can increase the risk of Alzheimer's disease. He cites a study showing that people under the age of 65 who get 20% or more of their calories from animal protein, which is many people, have a 75% higher risk of dying early and a 400% increased risk of dying from cancer or type 2 diabetes. Ornish also points out that the concern about eating animal foods is not limited to just their fat or cholesterol content. Blockages in arteries can be caused by increases in free fatty acids and insulin levels and the decreased production of endothelial progenitor cells, which helps to keep arteries open and clean. And all of this results from eating a lot of animal protein. Additionally, high animal food intake increases the production of something called TMAO, a metabolite of meat and eggs that increases the risk of coronary artery disease. Animal food also increases the risk of cancer since the protein increases blood levels of IGF-1, a growth promoter and growth hormone, and contributes to high inflammation levels, a risk factor for cancer and many other diseases. Ornish goes on to say that, quote, an optimal diet for preventing disease is a whole foods plant-based diet that is naturally low in animal protein, harmful fats, and refined carbohydrates. While I don't agree with all of Dr. Ornish's recommendations, he advises people to include good fats like fish oil, flax oil, seeds, and nuts in the article itself. We agree on the overall dietary pattern, and that dietary pattern has been proven to lead to better health outcomes. Now, in my opinion, Ornish has a whole lot more credibility than the individuals who served on the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee. Most are academics, and I haven't looked into the backgrounds of the individuals on this particular committee, but historically, many committee members have had conflicts of interest that can interfere with their objectivity, and I know of no instance at this point where a committee member has had a history or background in reversing disease with diet or any other strategy for that matter. Ornish, on the other hand, states in his article that he and his colleagues have proven that a whole food plant-based diet reverses chronic disease. It doesn't just reduce cholesterol or other markers for disease. And they have been successful in treating people, even who have very advanced disease. And the more compliant his patients are, the more improvement they showed, regardless of their age or health status at the beginning of the intervention. And they've published their results. He concludes his article by pointing out that eating plants is not only good for people, but much better for the environment. It takes 10 times more grain to produce the same number of calories from livestock as through grain grown for foods for humans. And livestock farms are responsible for more environmental destruction than driving cars and other known contributors to pollution and climate change. Now, his comments make sense, I think, to almost all of us, but they're unlikely to change anything, because here's what I predict is going to happen. Producers of animal foods and dairy will claim that their products have been vindicated and people no longer to feel guilty about eating them. Promoters of the paleo diet and other high-protein versions of diets will claim that they've always been right in saying that humans have historically eaten an animal foods-based diet and it's good for them. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics will post a letter commending the committee on its excellent work. They've done it every time. You can go back and look. And dietitians will continue to recommend a dietary pattern that's almost certain to make Americans sicker. And many Americans will welcome these guidelines because, let's face it, people do like to hear good news about their bad habits. So I think the only way we're going to gain traction is to package the message of dietary change inside a bigger and more inclusive message, and I spoke about that a little bit last week. And that addresses the main issue that causes people to get all these wrong ideas about diet, and then to eat poorly, and then to require medical treatment, and to agree to it, and a lot of that treatment doesn't really make them much better at all. And that message is that people are not given complete and objective information about the risks and benefits of diets, tests, drugs, supplements, and procedures before making decisions about what they're going to do. So first, we have to educate people about this opportunity for informed decision making. It's crucial. You have to tell them not practicing it can cost you dearly and lead to disastrous consequences. In fact, most of us are looking at people all the time who are facing disastrous consequences because they didn't have access to this type of information. And then we have to teach them how to access and interpret information. That's my whole goal at Wellness Forum Health. We believe here that all consumers have a fundamental right to understand the risks and benefits of any drug, test, diet, procedure, supplement, before consenting to it. And I don't know who could possibly disagree with me that that right to be informed should be a right of all consumers. I'm committed to making that the standard practice. If it takes me till my dying day, I'm going to make it the standard practice for healthcare in this country and all over the world. So I hope you're going to help me with that. All right, that's all for today. Have a great one. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching it. Be back to you Thursday with more news.